I'm going to admit it right now, this might be one of my toughest videos to commentate yet, because I find it very difficult to commentate over cutscenes, and I don't just want to read the dialogue either. Anyway, we made it all the way to Ganondorf, and apparently the Master Sword is the foolproof method of taking him down. That's not gonna stop him from spouting some congratulations for once, and some exposition. And holy shit, he looks like crap! Honestly, that was my first reaction when I first saw his face in this very cutscene the first time I played this game. Ganondorf looks like shit in this game. The rest of the game looks just fine. It's just this. What you're looking at. It's just, how could that have been green-lighted? Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Ganondorf is telling us exactly why everything came back in color when I pulled the Master Sword out of its pedestal. Yeah, it's a key that kept the seal on him and his magic intact, and by withdrawing the Master Sword, I have broken the seal. And I'll come back to that in a moment, because Link judges that the only proper way to deal with that revelation is to run straight into Ganondorf. And gee, that went all the way bad quickly. Foolproof method of taking down Ganondorf, eh? Thanks, King of Red Lions. Now I'm about to get my ass kicked because you lied to me. So, yeah, what happens, basically, is that the Master Sword somehow lost the power to repel evil. So, if we survive this, we're gonna have to do something about it before we can confront Ganondorf again. But it doesn't look too good. Until, surprise, Tetra, of all people, drops in and does some mad kung fu on Ganondorf. Seriously, that sounds like something straight out of a bad fanfiction. But logic comes back to its senses, and Ganondorf starts mauling Tetra just like he did Link. So, things keep going from bad to worse, and you can see here the Tetra's pendant that keeps clipping through her clothes. I guess that's sort of the point, that it's supposed to be the big reveal that it's actually a chunk of the Triforce, because Ganondorf's Triforce of Power reacts to it. And yes, he just went there. Apparently Tetra is Princess Zelda, the incarnation of Zelda in this game, and feigning ignorance, well, to her credit, she's not feigning ignorance. She honestly doesn't have any clue what he's talking about. And Rito's to the rescue! Oh yeah, and here comes one of my favorite moments in the game. My name is Baloo, and I like to barbecue! Now you may be thinking, well, how can this game go on for another, I don't know how many hours? He just killed Ganondorf right then and there. Well, you gotta keep in mind that Ganondorf isn't any mere mortal, and it takes a lot more than that to keep him down. So, we made it all the way back to the Tower of the Gods. So, if I may come back to that whole Master Sword being the key to Ganondorf's power that we heard earlier, that has to be a lie. It simply has to be. Simply because Ganondorf already started summoning his army, making things go all the way bad all around the Great Sea, and utterly annihilating Great Fish Isle long before the Master Sword was pulled. So, yeah. Either it's a lie, or it's a blatant plot hole, as we get another one-sided conversation that we can only understand the side of the King of Red Lions. So, yeah, this wasn't nearly as important as what was being talked about when we encountered Jaboon, which I never translated because of the massive spoilers that were in that ancient text. But those aren't really going to be spoilers in a couple minutes, because everything is going to be explained once we make it back to the world beneath the Great Sea. So we're going to head down there, and I know what you're thinking. No, those moblins and Darknuts do not respawn, unlike many of the enemies in the game. So This is perfectly safe, at least for now, and suddenly Link has his hero's charm back on, for all the sense that that makes. So, Tetra is coming back to her senses, and understandably, she has no clue where we are since she missed some of the action, and we're being talked to by the King of the Red Lions, and we must come now to the room where you got the Master Sword, and basically, it really doesn't look like it's the King of Red Lions, because the King of Red Lions is right there, and he's not speaking, so it's someone else with the same voice as the King of the Red Lions, or the King of Red Lions just wants to psych Tetra out. So, come to see me at once. Well, that's proof that it's definitely not the King of Red Lions, because, well, he's right there. Speaking of which, there's something really cool that I want to show you. Really nice touch by the game designers. At this point, if you look at the King of Red Lions, especially his eyes, he looks like he's sort of lifeless, which is actually very important and a very nice touch, as I said. So, we gotta guide Tetra all the way back to the chamber where we got the Master Sword, and I gotta say, at least she doesn't run into walls and get stuck and shit like that. She follows you pretty well. So let's head down there and see what the fuss is all about. And of course Tetra is all bitchy, as we should be used to, and suddenly the hero's charm is gone again. So, that stone is an enhanced, the Gossip Stone's gratuitous reference to the Nintendo 64 games. Anyway, remember the legend that we saw at the beginning of the game about Hyrule and the Hero of Time and what happened to the land after Link left the Kingdom of Hyrule? Well, we're seeing the second part of that legend right now. This is Hyrule. And meet its ruler, Daphnis No Hansen Hyrule, who, as I said, I like to pretend he's the same king as in Ocarina of Time. No, I don't recognize your voice! There's no voice acting in this game! Well, I guess that can explain why we heard the voice of the King of Red Lions, and yet it was him who was speaking through the stone. So, basically, what happened was that after Link was sent back to relive his childhood by Zelda at the end of Ocarina of Time, sometime after that, Ganondorf somehow escaped from the evil realm and attempted to take over Hyrule again. So, the people expected that Link would come back, but he didn't come back because stupid Zelda sent him back to relive his childhood. So, basically, Hyrule was screwed. So, the people started praying to the gods to try and save them. So the gods instructed some of those people to take refuge on the summits of the mountaintops of Hyrule. And those people are the ancestors of the people that populate the Great Sea today. Now, the intent of that flood was to seal both Ganondorf and Hyrule beneath the sea forever. But since Ganondorf found the way to came back from that as well, obviously didn't work. And it's really hard to keep Ganondorf down, let me tell you that. And now, as to what Ganondorf was saying about Tetra being Princess Zelda. The necklace that Tetra wears is part of the Triforce of Wisdom that has been associated with Zelda throughout the series. And apparently, the King of Red Lions knows a lot more about Tetra's life than I thought he would know. That's a bit scary. Has he been, stalking her through all these years or something? But, anyway, now we get what happened to the Triforce of Wisdom after the events of Ocarina of Time. And here comes the big reveal, even though Ganondorf sort of spoiled it for us already. Yep, the king has the other portion of the Triforce of Wisdom as we get some nice Link to the Past intro music. As I I said, not too much of a surprise. Thanks, Ganondorf. At least Sheik being Zelda, or Zelda being Hylia, wasn't spelled out this blatantly prior to the big reveal. And, is it just me, or does she look like she's got like 45 pounds of makeup on her face? I mean, where did that tan go? And just in case we don't understand what just happened, I was about to say the King of Red Lions. I guess he is the King of Red Lions in a way, but the King of Hyrule tells us that she is indeed Princess Zelda, and it seems like her bitchy soul completely vanished in the transformation. Yeah, I'd be confused too if I thought I was something I wasn't throughout my whole life. But I'm not exactly sure that's how the Tetra character should have reacted to this revelation. So, now that it is known that she is indeed Princess Zelda, the bearer of the Triforce of Wisdom, she will become a very easy target for Ganondorf, and if he succeeds in collecting the entire Triforce, well, the entire humanity is pretty much fucked. So, fortunately, the king has an idea about what caused the Master Sword to lose its power. Thankfully, he's a lot more versed in ancient Hyrulean lore than we are, than Link is at the very least. So, as I said, Zelda, very easy target for Ganondorf. So she is to remain in this chamber until we manage to restore the power to the Master Sword and strike down Ganondorf once and for all. So, of course, he decides to just teleport away instead of just walking like everyone else, though if I were an ethereal spirit of the past encased in the body of a boat, I would probably flaunt that a bit. But before we can go, Zelda's got a few apologies to make, and as I said, it's too bad. I really like the Tetra character because of her bitchy soul, but when she's Zelda, she's just your average, weak-minded, woe-is-me princess. And, by the way, not a fan of this idea of leading Zelda alone in this chamber without food or anything. With the time it's gonna take for us to complete our quest, we'll probably come back to find a skeleton. So yeah, not the idea of the century, but then again, we've already established that the King of Red Lions was never the best at laying out plans carefully and in a foolproof manner. So, let's head back outside to the entrance of the castle where the King of Red Lions in his boat form is waiting for us. And he looks alive too, so as I said before, very nice touch to only have him look dull and lifeless for a very brief moment. So, he thinks something has happened to the sages that are supposed to power up the Master Sword. So there are two temples, the Earth Temple and the Wind Temple, that we're going to have to go to. Unfortunately, they're located in Hyrule, and we can't really explore much of it right now. But there are entrances to the temples from the mountaintops of Hyrule that are now islands above the sea. But before we can enter these temples, there are a lot of things that we must do, a lot of items to acquire. So we got our work cut out for us. Oh, come on, this is a Zelda game. You can't ever expect anything to be straightforward. So, next time we're gonna get started on getting all that stuff we need to enter the two temples as a new adventure begins in the next episode.